Hi chemistry students, and welcome to your notes about density. The essential question, what is density and how do we calculate it? The date today is the date of whatever day you're watching this video. Make sure it's at the top and make sure you're on the correct notebook page. So, the meaning of density is that it's the relationship between an object's mass and volume. Okay, I want you to keep this picture in mind. And don't forget at any time if I'm going too fast, go ahead and pause to write down what's on this slide. So you do want to write down density and you want to make sure that you have that meaning. When we say it's the relationship between an object's mass and volume, what we mean is that it describes the compactness of the particles. So basically, this has more density because these particles are closer together. They're more compact. And this has less density because the particles are more spread out. Okay? So density describes the compactness of the particles in a substance, and whether a substance floats or sinks is related to its density. So you're going to notice in this picture, this looks kind of spongy, it's floating, this is a little bit heavier, it's a little lower, and now we have a very dense object that sinks. Okay? Make sure you write down everything on this slide. So mass is the amount of matter an object contains. So it's basically talking about how many particles are in this space, right? Volume is the amount of space an object takes up. So it's talking about how big is the space, right? These two things could have the same density if this space was larger and it had the same number of particles or the same amount of matter, right? But because this has more matter in a smaller space or in the same space, then we know that it has a bigger density. So, mass is found by using a triple beam balance or a scale when you're in class, right? Mass is measured in grams. So we're not going to be using a scale right now as we're online. But just so you know, this is what we would use if we were in class and doing a lab about density. Volume, if the substance is a liquid that we're talking about, we would use a graduated cylinder. So this thing right here, you've used it before, to find the volume. And for us, our volume is measured in milliliters. Now, if the substance is not a liquid, we wouldn't measure it this way, but we'll talk about that later, so we're not going to worry about that right now. Okay? When you're calculating your density, your formula is mass divided by volume equals density. So you might remember these nice handy triangles from physical science. We're going to use that same thing for density. Okay? Anytime we have three variables, we can use that. So our density units, if it's density, is grams per milliliter. If we're asking about mass, it's grams. If we're asking about volume, it's milliliters, okay? So by using this triangle, whatever you're trying to find out, you cover it up, and the other things will tell you your equation, okay? So for example, if I want to find density, if I cover that up, I would use mass divided by volume. Say I want to find mass. If I cover this up, I would use density times volume. If I wanted to find volume, I would do mass divided by density, okay? So for example, a 10 milliliter sample of sugar solution has a mass of 5.0 grams. What is its density? Okay. So in this case, what I want to do is I want to say, okay, first, what is my equation, right? So what is its density? Well, density equals mass divided by volume. Okay. And we know that from that last slide and also from our triangle. So if I'm trying to find density, density equals mass. Okay, well, a 10 milliliter sample, well, that's volume, has a mass of 5 grams. So 5.0 grams divided by 10.0 milliliters is what we're going to put into this equation, right? 5 divided by 10 is 0.5 grams per milliliter, okay? So this kind of question is something that you might be asked to answer about density, okay? Basically, in this case, you are plugging in these answers, or these numbers, okay? A different example. So, a substance's, let me see here. Okay, a substance's density is known, okay, to be 5.6 grams per milliliter. Density equals 5.6 grams per milliliter. Good to know. You have a 25.0 milliliter sample. Okay, well that means I know the volume. Volume equals 25.0 milliliters. So I must be trying to find the mass. Okay, what is the mass of the sample? All right, so let's figure out what is our equation for this. So I have density and I have volume. So in this case, if I go back to my triangle, I'm trying to find mass, right? So I cover up the thing I'm trying to find. And then I have density and volume left. They're next to each other, so I'm going to multiply them. So in this case, my equation is mass equals density times volume, which is 5.6 grams per milliliter times 25 milliliters. Okay, I'm going to put that into my calculator. Let's see. 5.6 times 25. I got 140. And now what we know is that the answer isn't just 140. The answer also needs to have a unit. So grams per milliliter and milliliters. Okay, I'm trying to find mass. And earlier in my notes, I remember that we said our mass was in grams. Okay, grams. All right, so that comes to the end of your notes. Here's your Cornell Notes summary for the week. Make sure that you follow these directions to write your summary. And I hope you have a great day.